When it comes to playing cards, you have a lot of options. Mainly because everyone and their brothers, mothers, sisters, and others are releasing playing cards. We have enough playing cards in this world. You can chill. And here I am planning out a new deck. But seriously, when it comes down to playing cards that you should be using, here's what you need. What up, crew? Hope you're doing well. They call me the mechanic of cards. Well, I mean, I call myself that, so that's probably why other people call me that. As I was saying, there's so many decks of playing cards that you can buy, and when I was first exposed to the entire playing card world, I was completely overwhelmed. Like, there was a deck that was a slice of watermelon. There was another deck that had 2 Fs on the back that sold for hundreds of dollars on eBay. There was another deck that opened up like a book. There was another deck that was literally Iron Man. Like, it's insane. So in all this chaos, what deck should you be buying? Let's talk about it. Let me break it down for you. There are 4 major categories that I consider when buying a deck of playing cards. And if you disagree, I don't care. But the 4 main categories are Card Magic, Cardistry, Card Mechanics, and Card Collection. In this video, I'm going to talk about the ideal decks for each one of these categories, and I'm going to do my best to be unbiased, but I'm going to let you know, some bias may slip in. When it comes down to card magic, you want to use your skills or performance abilities to make an impact on the spectator. When you pull out a deck of playing cards, there should be little to no doubt in the spectator's mind that it's an ordinary deck of playing cards. Otherwise, you're going to get questions like, is that a magic deck? No, Fred, it's not a magic deck. What is that? What is even that? So for doing card magic, I would suggest using a deck that's either very recognizable or very simple and plain looking. Let me walk you through a couple of examples. I don't even think I have to mention this, but I will. One of the most standard decks of playing cards to use are the bicycle playing cards. It's so easy for anyone here, at least in the US, to get their hands on this deck, and you could probably walk into someone's house and they have a pack of bicycle playing cards right there. Now, if you don't live in the US, that may be a bit of a different story, but you want to use a deck of playing cards that's widely available in your area to kind of bring on the least amount of suspicion, or I would say 0 suspicion. So when it comes time to use either a gimmicked card or a gimmicked deck with the playing cards that you're already using, these bicycle playing cards or whatever is available in your area, they'll match up very well. But of course, since you already know about bicycle playing cards, let me give you a list of decks that I use for card magic. The classic Nox are a very plain and minimal design deck, along with a very useful marking system that makes them great for card magic. The bicycle gold standard decks are just like bicycle standard decks, but they have a much better handling, making them much more effective and efficient with card magic. The Copac 310 playing cards are also great for the linen B9 finish, making them very durable and great at handling. Now, I'm not a fan of how they look, so I don't use them personally, but I would highly recommend if you like the design, you should go for it. Another great deck are the Monarchs from Theory 11. They're kind of more on the luxurious side of plain and simple, like they have a great design, a beautiful tuck case, but I think they don't cross the edge of, are those magic cards? Like, that's where I draw the line. If I can say, are those magic cards? That's when they're on the other side. And last but not least, the Canis Lupus playing cards. I'm kidding, that's just the first and only deck of playing cards that I released. So, you know, like I said, some bias may slip in. But seriously, if you want to pick this, oh jeez, deck fell. But seriously, if you want to pick this deck up for yourself, it's available in the Card Mechanic shop, and the link to that will be the first one in the description. Winding down with card magics, by the way, there are so many decks I didn't mention, and I'm sure you guys will cover them down in the comments below. But for example, the DMC Elites, they have a beautiful marking system, they're a great looking deck, or decks that include double backers, double facers, duplicate cards. They can all be used very well for card magic, and it's just, there's so many decks to mention, I just couldn't mention everything. And remember, in card magic, simple and minimal are key. Cardistry is like the opposite of card magic. And I'm sure, as you're aware, cardistry is the art of card flourishing, or the extreme manipulation of playing cards with flair, with the intention of showing off your skills and abilities. I made up that definition. And when you watch cardistry, it is one of the most soothing, eye-catching things that you will ever see, unless done wrong. Then it sucks. So because cardistry is like eye candy, you want decks that really catch people's attention. Because here, unlike card magic, no one cares if you have a magic deck. They're purely watching for visual pleasure. And before I give you a couple of examples of playing cards, let me talk about the main characteristics you should look for in a deck when considering using it for cardistry. Ideally, you want to use cards that have a thinner cardstock or a nicer type finish, maybe an air cushion finish, or a linen finish, something along those lines. And the reasoning for that is because thinner cards are easier to manipulate, or when they're under pressure, either when you're doing the card spring or something along those lines, it's much easier on the hands to implement those moves. And of course, with the nicer finishes on the deck, they'll feel much smoother in your hands, almost like butter, just without the mess. But now, one thing to note when using thinner cardstocks is that the decks are a little less durable. And that's because of how thin and flimsy the cards are. Great for manipulation, but not great for durability. So that's kind of a trade-off you have to make. Okay, I'm all done talking about it. Let me just give you examples of these great cardistry decks. One of my favorite decks to use are the Virtuoso playing cards or the Verts deck. They are super thin crushed. Their geometric shapes make it look very eye-catching with their cardistry. And honestly, they really do feel like butter in your hands. The Orbit decks are also very nice for cardistry. They have a beautiful design on the back along with the ring that really draws in everyone's attention. Made of course also with a thin crushed stock. The Post Cardistry touch playing cards are also very nice. They have a beautiful eye-catching back design along with a premium thin crushed stock. Now I showed that deck to you myself, but I kind of ran out because, you know, I used them. And now if you're looking to really get better at cardistry with burner or practice decks, there is no deck I would recommend more than the Tally Ho playing cards. They're more on the cheaper side versus most decks, and they still handle very well. So I'd recommend practicing with those decks first until you kind of perfect it, and then show off your abilities with the nicer ones. To be honest, these are just some of my favorite decks, but there are so many other decks out there that have that durability, that have the design that's perfect for you. So just a couple of things to keep in mind as we wrap up cardistry. You want the cards to have a thinner stock, you want them to have a nice, at least an air cushion finish with a beautiful design or a design that you love. Ah, here we go, my favorite category, the category after which my channel is named. Now, a card mechanic is someone who can fix a game of cards to achieve a desired outcome. A card mechanic is the complete opposite of a cardist. Cardists are always looking to show off their abilities with flashy moves, while a card mechanic focuses on showing absolutely nothing. Their focus is to make each and every move look as mundane as a Monday. Is that a saying? I feel like it should be. Solely in terms of handling, there are two main things that a card mechanic should focus on, similar to a cardist, and of course that is the finish and the cardstock. We need to find cards that are durable with a good coating so that they last a long time, and they're very easy to use when manipulating. By very easy, I mean a little bit easier. It's not going to be very easy at all. Out of all the practicing I've done for card magic, for cardistry, nothing has compared to how long I've spent with a single deck of playing cards when practicing to be a card mechanic. The practicing just went on forever. You are constantly repeating the same moves over and over and over again for hours and hours and days on end because it has to be perfect every single time. If you get caught cheating, it's all over. You could lose a hand. And then all that practice is wasted. There is one more aspect of playing cards that you need to take into consideration when using them to be a card mechanic, and that is design. You want to use a deck that is completely borderless and has a repeating, almost wallpaper type design. Why is that, you may ask? Well, because it really helps you to conceal your moves. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to demonstrate how much better a borderless deck is in concealing moves done by card mechanics versus a bordered deck. So we'll start by doing the second deal, and I'll use this for demonstration purposes. And second deal, of course, when you deal a second card instead of the first card. So the first card is the Ace of Spades. So I start doing the second deal, and you can kind of almost see it happening. Maybe if you're not looking super close, you don't really see it, but you can still see that there is something happening. Coming over to the borderless deck now, you'll see how much better it conceals the second deal. So again, we have Ace of Spades on top, and of course random cards here. So when I start doing the second deal, the benefit of having this borderless deck is that you can barely tell where one card ends and another card begins. So I can literally just start doing the second deal all day long, and you'll barely be able to tell the difference between if I'm doing a second deal, a top deal, a Greek deal, or even a bottom deal. Keeping all that in mind, I'm going to suggest two decks that you should be using. One deck you should be using for sure. It's not even a suggestion, it's use it. The playing cards that will always be number one for me are the standard Casino B playing cards. These cards encapsulate everything that I just talked about perfectly. They're very durable, great handling, completely borderless with a wallpaper design, and they are extremely cheap. Like literally, they are a dream. I almost have them on me 24/7. That being said, there are also decks similar to this, of course probably not a similar price point, that work very well. So another deck that I would love to suggest are the Madison Dealers. They have the same type of design, but they also include a marking system, which will just skyrocket your card mechanic abilities. Unfortunately, I can't mention you on this list. yet. So biggest takeaway, make sure your deck is durable with good handling and a borderless design. And finally, I would like to talk to all my card collectors out there because really, the entire world of playing cards is at your fingertips. All you really have to think about is what's unique, what's highly collectible, and most importantly, what you love. Really, there are so many decks out there that are just super rare or unlike anything you've ever seen, making non-card collectors into card collectors. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here because for card collectors, their collection is their own. It fits their personality. So all I really want to do is recommend to you some decks that I really love. But keep in mind, once you start collecting, you won't stop. Ever. Also, one thing to note, this video is not sponsored, so I don't get anything from suggesting or recommending these decks to you, but I like them so much that I have to share. One great company is Card Mafia. They create super eye-catching cases for their playing cards. If you're a Marvel fan, they got you covered. They released several Iron Man themed decks, Captain America, Spider-Man, and most recently Thor, so I think they just do a great job. TCC is also a great company that releases very cool projects like these Card College playing cards. Like, where do these ideas come from? They're amazing. If you like collecting for the sake of collecting, there are many hype decks like the Fontaines that immediately sell out as soon as they're released. There are also signed David Blaine Metalux Gatorback playing cards that also look absolutely stunning, which I'll be making available on my website. And then there are decks released by some of your favorite creators such as Chris Ramsey, Alex Pandrea, Daniel Madison, Kier Gomes, and maybe me. Maybe. The one and only deck I got. But seriously, when I get to 750 Canis Lupus decks sold, I'll share with you my entire journey of releasing my next deck. It's gonna be amazing. I truly hope you enjoyed this video. It took me a long time to plan out, so hopefully you were able to extract some value for yourself. Thanks so much for watching. It's always a pleasure when I get to spend this time with you, and if you want to check out some more videos on playing cards, click on that playlist right over there. You'll get everything you ever needed. I'll see you there.